Hey everyone, I thought that I would actually give you a very brief video first on just navigating Courseden, since I've spoken to a couple of you over the break between semesters, and I've learned that you have not had an online class yet. So let me just give you a few of the kinds of general parameters, and then I'll get into our course and talk very specifically about it in a moment. And then, of course, in another video, I believe I'm going to go through the highlights or foreground some of the really important aspects of the syllabus. So first, I've taken you here. You can see the Courseden homepage. This is what you should see when you log into Courseden, something perhaps similar to this, maybe not exactly like mine. But you're always going to see your courses over here on the right. You want to find your class. So obviously I've been working on this one a great deal, so it appears first in the list, and you'll click that. Before I do click it though, take a look over here for some of the resources that you might utilize. I've also listed a few of these inside of our course, and they're always going to be here in your left. You're always going to have major Courseden announcements here in the center. So keep that in mind, that this is what you'll see when you log into Courseden utilizing your UWG username and password. All right, so let's click and get into our class. So this is our course homepage, and this is our welcome letter in our announcements tool. I use this a great deal, at least 3 times a week, maybe more than I should, but it is a handy place for me to get out quick announcements, or I might link a video, something like that, thoughts I might be having. I might want to spotlight a particular discussion forum post that I think you should ponder as you're continuing forward. So I use this for all sorts of things. Here, of course, you can see is your welcome letter, in which I outline not only the kind of big goals of our course, defining at a kind of aerial level what young adult literature is before we get into our specifics, and giving you some parameters for procedures, policies, the way that the course is going to function. I'm also asking you towards the end to turn towards the orientation forum. You can see that I've done that here. And I'm actually giving you some navigational tips already, or attempting to do that, in the welcome letter. The content tab is where you're going to find all of our module information, but I definitely wanted to show you as well. So this bar that I'm scrolling over right now with my cursor appears at the top of every single one of the pages in our class. You can always go directly back to course home, right? That's where we are right now. You can go to content, which we're going to do in a moment. Assessments take you to different kinds of assignments. So we'll have assignments for our projects, discussions, you have a syllabus quiz, things like that appear here. Communication, you might see email, the discussion, so this will be our discussion forums. Resources is also important, since it takes you directly to some of these particular help guides where you can obtain help dealing with technology, sometimes research, tutoring, and of course you can always call UWG online if you need to get some kind of assistance. Here is the grade tool, and you'll see your progress, checklists, rubrics, and grades. And then here, the calendar. Now for us, we're going to see only the calendar events for that module, because each module opens up on a specific date. This is not a self-paced course. It's a module at a time. We're moving as a group through them. So that's our course homepage. I'm going to take us directly to content, since that's where you're going to want to go right after you've read the welcome letter here in the announcement section. Content takes you directly to, well, okay, to the different modules, right? So I worked on module 4 last, so that's what's coming up. But here you'll see module 1, which is where you're going to start. You're asked always at the beginning of every single module to take a look at the checklist And of course, you're given objectives for every module. So that way you can see exactly what you're expected to learn and practice as you're moving towards course completion. Also, at the very beginning of each and every module, you'll see a page like this, and you'll see major links. The first is always your introduction, or your checklist. Here it's orientation and introduction checklist. You'll see a discussion tool sometimes, so that'll be a forum. Here I've given you several different documents and links, right? And then of course, in this introduction, this orientation module, you have a syllabus quiz that ensures that you've read and you understand the course policies, procedures, and content. So at the beginning of each module, you're going to have something like this. Once again, you won't see this directly because it's not open yet. It's open for me because I'm the administrator. But you can see that we have very similar setups for every single module. Again, module objectives. I've given you some suggestions in this first content-rich one. A checklist, the discussion thread. In this case, you'll have colloquy 1 assigned during module 2. So you always have an assignment sheet and a rubric. And then for colloquy 1, you'll be posting something to a discussion thread. Here, because you're beginning your discussion forum thread assignment, we'll have a group moderating. There's the assignment sheet and the rubric. So whenever you have an assignment sheet, a rubric follows directly behind. In every single module, you do have a small introductory piece at the very top that lays out your course objectives for the module and sometimes provide you with some specifics, just some specific kinds of advice and things of that nature. I want to go back though to module 1, the first one you're going to see, because I do want to show you a checklist before I end this short video for navigation. You'll always see the checklist, like I said, for every single module as the first link. So let me click on it. And you'll see the module checklist set up like this. I always have read, view, complete, and sometimes there'll be another link that indicates that you're going to discuss, right? So there's no discussion forum so much here, right? There's an introduction forum. So every single checklist is set up under these major action verbs, really: read, view, discuss, complete. And I've asked you, you can see that mine are already checked, again, because I'm the admin. You will see boxes that are empty. And your job, I have it set to manual check off, is to go through each module and check off the items. That way you can keep track of how much of each module you've completed, and I can see also that you've paid close attention to each module's requirements. The other thing to point out about module checklists is that whenever you have a supplemental reading, and that would be like a secondary source, I've linked it in the module checklist. So for example, you have this one secondary piece that I'm asking you to read in this first introduction orientation module, and I clicked on it, as you see, and it pulls up. That way you can print it out and read it. So every single supplemental reading actually is linked, just like this one, in the module checklist, and that's where you can find those supplemental materials at all times. So that gives you a bit about navigation. If you have specific questions, obviously, do email me using the CourseDen tool. I just wanted to give you kind of the parameters for how to utilize CourseDen, especially if you haven't used it. One thing that helped me a great deal when I began looking into developing online courses and kind of fell in love with teaching online is just playing around, just looking around and you know, clicking on links. Sometimes the best way you can learn a platform, you know, a system like CourseDen, is by clicking around, examining how courses are set up. So make sure you're doing that, especially if you're not used to the online environment quite yet. All right, so The next video you're going to see is, in fact, the video that I'm foregrounding some syllabus components in. And I've asked you in that orientation and introduction forum to complete the second reading of the syllabus while listening to my next video. By the way, I'm using something called Screencast-O-Matic. So if you just go to screencast-o-matic.com, you can actually, just with your microphone, and you might have a microphone on your webcam, that's how I'm using mine, you can actually just plug that in, and Screencast-O-Matic lets you choose what section of your screen to film, and you can narrate, just as I've done here. And I find it an incredibly valuable tool, especially when it comes to teaching writing or showing you something as far as text and doing some close reading. So I'll use it often. But it's Screencast-O-Matic.com. You can see here. It's really easy. You can go pro if you'd like. You get some extra perks, but I just use the basic, and it's a 15-minute, up to 15-minute video that you can create while you narrate, and your viewers can see your computer screen. Okay, so next video, ahoy guys. I hope this helps you as you're beginning to learn to navigate the core STEM environment.